Last summer, before a road trip through China, I got the chance to interview Yan from the channel Little Chinese Everywhere.
Wait, let me... Wait, it's a bit messy.
I got to ask both my own questions on traveling in China and her own passion for travel, as well as questions from my Instagram followers. This video format will be more like a podcast, and I will put all the timestamps for each question below. And for the ones of you who do not know Yan, she has been documenting her travels for over a year, traveling overland from Switzerland to China. Today I'll be leaving the village I have safely across the border. And then now making her series, Unseen China, that you find on her channel. She goes to often unknown smaller places and share her own experiences as well as personal stories from the people she comes across. Let's just say it was a lovely conversation, and thank you, Yan, for agreeing to it. So now I'm gonna be looking at my camera. So I'm just gonna ask some of my questions, and then in the end I'm gonna ask a few questions that I got from Instagram. So first I just thought I'd ask, what is it about travel that you love? Because you've been traveling all over the world, and you are now traveling all over China. And why?
Well, it's quite an easy question. I'm a very curious person, so I want to see... I'm just interested in people and places. So, my current plan is to travel within China, to make YouTube videos, but after that, I also want to travel to other countries.
When you travel, you do go to a lot of maybe less known areas, especially now in China. Your series is called Unseen China. But what is it about these places that draws you?
Well, when I was studying Europe, I found people have very limited understanding of China when speaking of China. Maybe some people have been to China, but they've been to maybe, for example, a few places, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou. But China's way bigger than that. It's way more diversified than so many people think. And even for Chinese, there are so many provinces that I've never been to. And that's why I want to show people the other side of China, not only big cities, modern urban area, but the rich culture, different people. And personally, it's also for me very interesting because I've never been to those regions and I really want to see it.
I'm curious too, because you are traveling to so many places that are not the typical tourist destination. How do you go about planning for this trip? On your channel, the latest videos are from Yunnan. When you went to Yunnan, for example, what was your planning process like? How much did you plan in advance?
I actually don't plan that much. I'm more a spontaneous person. But before I go there, I will buy a Lonely Planet, the book, the travel guide, and see what kind of things they have. Are there any festivals, interesting places and people? And personally, I don't like going to touristic attractions. That's a bit boring for me. It's more like a staged, gated area, especially for tourists. And it's always interesting for me to hang out with different people. So when I know which area has certain things, I just go there. Because in China, it's quite easy to travel with public transport. So there are always buses, or you can get a taxi, or you can get a motorbike ride. It's not very easy. It's not that hard to reach most places. And in the beginning, it was quite hard because, like what you said, you don't know what you can find. Maybe it's boring, maybe it's not. You never know. But in most cases, I found, after a few chat with local people, they will tell you, you should do this, you should do that. Or some people will invite you to join them for dinner or take you to some places. So yeah, that's how it goes. And sometimes I meet other people on the way, so I also travel with others. It all depends.
Your advice, would that be to just keep it very flexible, very open?
Yes, I think it's better to keep it flexible because sometimes if you find something interesting, you can stay a few nights more. if it's boring, you can skip it. And if you meet interesting people, then you can travel with them. So I think that's the easiest way.
For example, do you then decide for one province? For example, I'm going to go to Yunnan or I'm going to go to Tibet. And then you go there and then you see what happens? Or do you already decide I'm going to go first to this city and then that city and then that city? Or
yeah, mostly the province first, because certain provinces are easier to travel in certain months. For example, I dare not to go to Guangdong province in summer because I know it's going to be super hot. So I try to find the best time for that province and then stay within the province, finish that province. But most of the time, I don't think I can finish everything. I do my best to visit more places and then come back, edit videos, and then plan for the next.
So that's what you do. You do one trip and then you go back and edit and then you go out on the next one. Or do you also edit on the road?
Yes, like in the beginning, when I was in Fujian and Yunnan, it was like that. So I travel for a week and then I stop for 2 or 3 days to edit my videos, and so that I have a continued production. But last month, when I was traveling with my 2 other friends who are also TikTokers, Chinese TikTokers, they have a very tight schedule. So I didn't have time to edit any videos. So I had been continuously traveling for over 1 month, for over 40 days. And now I have over 15 videos to edit.
The most recent ones I watched was when you were with the Wa people in Yunnan. I mean, you go to these little villages and you don't really know what you're gonna encounter. But in the videos, it seems like you still know so much about it. Like you can talk like how the process of making the rice wine, or you can talk a little bit about the history of like weaving, or about, their tobacco smoking and things like that, that I feel like you know so much. Like, do you do a lot of research about culture as well before you go on your trips, or is that something you learn from them while you are there?
Well, I don't know everything. I know very little. Mostly it's because I was learning from them. So sometimes I contact people from, for example, Chinese Douyin, and then I wrote message and then I was asking if it's possible to film with them. Some people are very nice and then they show me around and then they explain to me what is this, how this happens. And then through talking, I learned from them. So that's what I've seen. China, it's a multi-ethnic nation. So I know that in certain places that there are certain ethnic groups and they must have something different from the others. So that's something that I get to know in advance before going there. But for the rest of the details, such as winemaking or weaving or whatever, it's something that you learn on the spot from them.
I think you have the perfect balance of just showing what you see and then also just adding a little bit more information so that it all makes sense. Okay, so now I'm curious about China. What would you say is like a wonderful place to visit that a lot of people don't know about? Like, are there any like hidden little gems when you've been out that you think, wow, why aren't more people coming here?
Wow, I think for Chinese tourists, they've been everywhere. So there is almost no place that is beautiful yet not touristy. But for foreigners, I think they have so much choices. For example, I would advise them to go to Xinjiang autonomous region. It's so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. I think people really go there. And also, for example, Sichuan province, like the western part of Sichuan province on the Tibetan plateau. Because if they want to experience Tibetan culture, so Tibetans are not only in Tibet, there are many other provinces. For example, in Sichuan province, in some part of Gansu province. So the landscape is beautiful. It's mountainous, and also it's a different culture compared with Han culture. So that would be extremely interesting for foreigners. And then I would say Yunnan province is always good. with a lot of good food. It's cheap and the climate, it's very sunny. So I think many people would like it. And then like the in general, the western part of China, like Qinghai, Gansu. So those are also very nice provinces and with very old history.
These are all the provinces we're gonna drive through. So I'm so happy that you mentioned all of them.
I wouldn't say that you shouldn't go to eastern region. I think every province is different. There is a lot to see because China is so big. It's almost the size of Europe. So imagine those provinces are just small European countries. So like every province has something unique.
But a good thing for foreigners though is that places like Qinghai and Tibet and Xinjiang are more difficult to travel. Because in Qinghai, I can be like in some areas, but a lot of areas are actually closed off to foreigners. So you need like a special permit if you want to go like beyond Qinghai Lake. And in some of the eastern parts, but then in the western parts of Qinghai, you need a special permit. Even in my village, I need a special permit. You manage in your videos to portray a very, a real and kind of everyday life for, the locals. You meet a lot of locals and you interact with the local culture. And I feel like you get a very authentic experience. Like, what is your advice for people? Because as a foreigner, maybe especially because a lot of foreigners do not speak Chinese or do not speak Chinese very well, like how would you say people should go about to get an authentic experience while in China?
I think language is indeed a barrier. If you don't speak Chinese, then you will have trouble communicating because in many places in China, some people don't even speak very good Mandarin Chinese. They have their own dialect. But the good news is that I found Chinese people are very helpful towards foreigners. I have foreign friends. Sometimes I found Chinese people are too good towards foreigners. So if a foreigner talk with a Chinese, except for that maybe in big cities, people in cities where people are very used to foreigners. So if you go to some small cities, in Yunnan, Guangxi or whatever, people are very helpful. Even if they don't speak English, they will try their best to answer your questions. They will invite you to come to their house for food, for drink. They want to give you a free ride or whatever. So as long as you are open enough, I think you can always meet friendly people and make some Chinese friends.
Like an advice I would give to people would be to just make sure that you have time so that you can make friends. Like when you travel, so you're not just have one day in each place, that you have maybe 2 weeks or a week, and then you come back later on so that you can meet up with people again, so you can actually start to build a friendship. So it's not just someone you met once and then you've never heard from them again. You actually make friends, because that's one of my best experiences when I was still a student at Fudan, was when I visited a friend I had met in her little hometown in a village in Shanxi province. Like when you have friends, Chinese friends, it's so nice to be able to get into an actual home and a house, and to see what life is actually like, which can otherwise be quite hard. But I feel like you manage to always meet locals that invite you for dinner very fast. Like you just meet them and then you go to dinner with them.
Well, not always that fast, but in the video it seems really fast. Perhaps because I'm Chinese, so it's much easier for me to talk with them, without the language barrier, it's much easier. But if you are a foreigner who speaks fluent Mandarin Chinese, I bet it's even easier. Because Chinese people are so impressed by foreigners who can speak good Chinese.
Yeah, especially in areas like that. I think in Beijing and Shanghai, big cities, people are quite used to it because there are a lot of foreigners who speak Chinese. But if you go to a smaller place and you are a foreigner and then you also speak Chinese, then it's like, oh wow, very interesting for them.
It's like, wow, and then they will take you to their house, and then probably they will take you to their friend's wedding, and then for this and that, So the thing is that you stay open and then you take your time. I think I was afraid when I first start traveling. So when I finished my study, I was like, okay, I'm going to have a long trip. I never had long trips before. So like the first week before I left, I was like, no, maybe I don't like it. I don't know. Maybe it's scary. Maybe I will be bored. But like very soon, like 3 or 4 days, I was like, wow, it's so exciting. The good thing as a solo traveler is that it's so easy for you to be approached by someone. Like if you are 3 or 4 people, other people might want to talk to you. But if you're just one person, then it's so easy. Like sometimes people ask for a cup of tea, sometimes you get dinner invitation, and sometimes you got picked up by someone else. So I found it's so easy for you to meet new people. So that's the big advantage of being a solo traveler.
If you could only pick one of when you're traveling in China, like what is the most random or funniest thing that happened?
Wow, that is so hard. There is no the most, because I think I've had a lot of good experiences. But the most recent one was when I was in Turpan in Xinjiang. So I was just walking and there are a lot of melons, and I went to one small village, and then I was flying my drone, and then a little boy came who is super cute and super chatty. He is so chatty, and he said, come to my house, my beautiful house. I want to show you my beautiful house. And I was a bit worried because I don't know if his mom want this, but he's like, 不用害怕，我可以给你安排. He said, 我可以给你安排 that he can arrange this. And then he took me to his house, and then there are so many melons, and then his sister was also there, and those two, like a boy and a girl, they showed me around. They took me to their rooftop, and when I was about to leave, they even asked me, take one melon, take one watermelon. I said, no, it's not good. Your father is here, and I'm a guest. I don't do this. And he said, it doesn't matter. We have a lot of melon. Take one, take one. He found a plastic bag and get me a big watermelon. That's a moment that make me enjoy my travel by, like, even by someone who is so young, who doesn't know, who is, I don't know, who is not even an adult, but who is so kind to show what his family has.
我把这个枕头冻住眼睛的东西就这样，
就这样好睡了是吧?
Okay, so now I have a few questions from people on Instagram. What does your family think about you doing YouTube and your traveling?
In the beginning, they are worried that I will be jobless because they're expecting me to teach in university or whatever, have a stable job. But then I also post my videos on Bilibili, this Chinese platform, so they're also watching it. And now, in the beginning, they are not happy, and now they are quite proud of me.
What have you studied? What did you study before?
It's actually, I studied different subjects. So for my bachelor, I did landscape architecture. And then for my master, I did urban study. And I work as an urban planner, landscape planner. And then I did my PhD in tourism geography. It's a mix of everything. Because when I was working as a planner, urban planner, we also do a lot of tourism planning. And I found it more interesting than simply urban planning. So then I decided to study geography, and then I applied for a PhD degree. So yeah.
Another question is, like, what would you advise someone traveling to China as a vegetarian?
It's so easy. I found Chinese are very creative in cooking vegetarian dishes. There are so many vegetables, and You can always order for only vegetarian stuff.
So I think, like, as a vegetarian myself, I think that it's very easy.
It's extremely
there's such
easy.
variety, and it's amazing to be in China.
Whether you are vegan or vegetarian, it's all easy.
So another question that I am also curious about, this is, how do you prefer to sleep? Do you prefer hotels or local homestays?
Whether it's homestay or hotel, I don't really care. Most of the time I stayed in a hotel, yeah.
What app do you use to find your hotels and homestays?
There is one app called Qu Naer. Have you heard of it? Qu Naer. Yeah. So another one, like for foreigners, they use trip.com. So trip.com and Qu Naer, they belong to one company. But I found hotel price on Qu Naer or on Xiecheng. Qu Naer is often the cheapest.
How is, like, the access to nature? Like, is it possible to go on hikes? And not in the sense like you follow a certain tourist route. Like when you go to, I don't know, Zhangjiajie, for example, there are, certain paths that you walk. But is it possible to just, go out in nature? If you see a nice mountain, is it possible to just go out and hike?
I think as long as it's not like a national reserve, because some national reserve are entry restricted, so you can't hike in every mountain, but there are many mountains out there that are open as long as you can go. But I think for foreigners it's hard to find the right place to hike, and for Chinese people there are hiking groups almost in every city, and they tend to organize hiking trips regularly, and they know where to go. In a city, normally there are some people who have it's always a WeChat group, so you have to ask if you know, or you can ask you can also ask the hostel reception. For the hostel reception, they always have some organized trips.
And then one last question is actually about Yunnan. She asked about Yunnan in particular, but I think the question, you can kind of apply it to all the places in China. And she's asking like how to get information, like how to know how to get to places and what places to get to and what you can do there. Because you mentioned before you have that book, what's it called? Lonely Planet.
I bought a lot of travel guide. So from Lonely Planet, this one is for Sichuan, and we got one.
Oh, so they have like specific ones for each region.
Yes, for some provinces they do Guangzhou, Qinghai, but it's all in Chinese. So for China, I think there is one big book, right? For that one, there is English version. Or you can just check on the internet, check trip.com to see some travel advice, or ask the hostel reception. So if you go to hostel, you can always get a lot of information.
Thank you. I think that's all the questions I had. And thank you so much for sitting down and talking to me.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
And I have, like, in this video, in the description box, there will be a link to China Unseen, the series you're doing now. And it's just a great series. You just managed to capture so much beauty and so many like little quirks, and it's very personal, like a very personal video, but with some really interesting information baked into it. So I think your channel is amazing. So I'm very happy that you joined. So yeah, thank you. I'm gonna stop my camera now. Thank you for watching the video and for making it all the way to the end. If you haven't watched Yan's channel, I will link it below. I also put all the other links she mentioned that she uses when she travels, and some other information in the description box. So do please check it out. And there will also be like specific timestamps for it. And this video also makes the start of my travel content. So the next video will be continuing on our journey through China when we were driving through China. I think the last one I ended up was at Qinghai Lake, if I'm not mistaken. So it'll be quite a few more Qinghai videos, and then we're moving to Gansu and then further on. So yeah, I'll see you in those videos. Bye!